You guys seem to love when I talk about trash ass men in my life, so this is the story time of the trashest ass man I ever met in my life. This guy was my childhood best friend's boyfriend, actually, and he pretty much tried to ruin our friendship by being a fucking creep with me, so let's get into it. My friend had been dating this guy who, like, literally was dating other girls while dating her and, like, was gaslighting her into being literally okay with it. Like, they weren't polyamorous. He just literally would be like, oh, no, it's fine because I've known her for so long. And then my best friend was like, okay. We'll call this man Kenny with a K. Me and my best friend were literally up each other's ass every second of every day. Like, we did every single thing together, and we were planning my 16th birthday party. Being the literal menace of a child that I was, I said for my 16th birthday party, all I wanted was liquor and smoke. The herb, you know what I mean? We decided that for my birthday, we were gonna all sleep in tents. So we'd set up like 3 tents, and all of us would like get drunk and then sleep in the tents, which don't do because that's illegal, but that's what we were gonna do. So Kenny was supposed to be in my tent with me because we were like the squad, right? That was like our friend group. Well, Kenny brought me like literally so much herb, it wasn't even funny, like, and strong herb. Like, I didn't understand how he got this. The night was fun. Like, I literally was just like on the trampoline with a few of my boyfriends at the time, and then the night ended and we had to go to our tents. Like, duh. I am at this point so greened out. Like, I couldn't speak, couldn't move. I just went in the tent and flopped down and was out. Like, literally couldn't move. For whatever godforsaken reason, in the tent, I'm laying next to Kenny and then my other best friend. Not the one that's dating Kenny, but my other one. Mind you, up until this point, he was like my best friend. Like, I loved the crap out of this kid. We had gone to school with each other for years. Like, I loved this kid. Honestly, there was a few times throughout our friendship that I really did feel like he was coming on to me, and it was kind of creepy. So I just kind of passed it off as like, oh, you're crazy, Emily. Like, he's not doing that. I was so young. I didn't think that someone who is literally dating my best friend would ever try to like get at me or be creepy. Everyone knows I'm greened out. Like, everyone's worried about me. They're kind of just like, oh my God, is she ever gonna be like a human again, or is her brain gonna stop? They decide that they all want to go to 7-Eleven, and they're like, Emily, do you want to walk with us to 7-Eleven? I'm like, no, like, I'm not getting up. Mind you, I barely can speak, barely can move. Like, you know what it's like. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. For whatever reason, Kenny also is like, I'm gonna stay back with her. Like, I want to make sure she's okay. And in my head, I'm like, please don't, please don't, please don't. But I can't get the words out. Like, I couldn't say like, please don't stay with me, I want to be alone. Our friends leave, and he literally rolls over and starts like rubbing up on me. Like, literally, like, I don't even really want to go into depths, but like rubbing up on me. My like zoinked ass brain is like, roll over and you'll be fine. Like, roll over. I think he took this as an opportunity, but I finally can get words out of my mouth, and then I say my best friend's name, and he just like stops in his tracks and is all freaked out. He stops and goes to sleep, and I think he was embarrassed. And then the next day he texts me like, thank you for such a nice night. Huh? So I finally get the courage to tell my friend, because I was honestly really scared to tell her because I didn't want her to think like I was like entertaining it at all. And he tells her that I was coming on to him and basically tries ruining our friendship. We ended up working it out, but it was really like frustrating because men are trash. Like, you're actually fucking trash. All of the story, he's cheated on every single girlfriend he's ever had in his whole life and will never stop. And that's like a continuous thing for people from my hometown. Like, everyone is trash. This is a story time about a former politician that tried to sue me and my brother. Every time I say my brother, you guys are confused. He's my best friend. My mom took him in, and then he became my brother. He's my brother. I don't know. You guys comment weird things about it. Preface this by saying I'm not going to say the name, and I'm also saying all of this is alleged, okay? None of this has any truth behind it. It's all alleged. Basically, my mom was kind of a banging bitch in the 90s, and she went to New York City one weekend with her best friend who was also kind of a banging bitch. Because they were hot, they were able to get into a bunch of bars in New York City that were kind of like sought after and definitely had celebrities in them. While they're sitting at the bar, my mom notices this politician sitting across the way from her, and she's like, OMG, look at that guy. That is so-and-so. And my mom's best friend was like, I literally don't care. That doesn't faze me. And my mom was like, well, I'm gonna go have a drink with him. Being the hot girl that my mom is, she walked over and he bought her a drink, and my mom basically didn't remember the rest of the night. So, you know, something was into her drink. She said the only thing she remembers is a bunch of mirrors, like a room full of mirrors, and then everything else was a blur. Good. This is alleged, by the way. Today, my mom decides to tell me and my brother this story, and we're both like, that is crazy. And at the time, he was like running for a certain type of office. So being the children we were, we tweeted it, and we were like, OMG, my mom literally got roofied by so-and-so. And yet he's out here completely respected and loved by so many people. The tweet was up for maybe 5 minutes before my brother got a DM from this guy's attorney saying, hey, can you please call us? We have more questions about this tweet. Sorry, but I've heard too many stories of people going missing for certain things like this, so we just deleted the entire Twitter. We were like, no, thank you. We don't want that. We don't want it. Mind you, we were like 17, maybe even 16, and there was no way we really thought that this guy was going to see our tweet, but he did, and he told his attorney, and we were about to get sued. Luckily, my beautiful mother made it home that night safely. That is not the same story for a lot of women, and we've all heard stories of how predatory politicians can be. Why are these men so respected, and why don't women rule the world yet? That's what I want to know.
My roommate is complaining that my boyfriend is staying over too often, and I think she's being unreasonable. Over the past month and a half, he has stayed over about 2 nights a week on average. Sometimes 3 nights, sometimes 1. but he always works in my room so as to not take up our shared space, such as the kitchen table. I am also always home when he is there. I have my own room and bathroom, so he isn't taking any of her personal space whatsoever. I will mention that our utility bills have not increased whatsoever during this time. I checked. Who is in the wrong here? This hasn't ever been a problem during the last 2 summers, for example, where he stayed over most weekends after going to the beach and hanging out with friends. I don't see why it's suddenly an issue now. Am I the asshole for wanting my own room? I and my fiance are moving into a small 3-bedroom house together in a couple of months. When discussing the use for one of the spare rooms in our soon-to-be house, I mentioned wanting to turn it into a bedroom for myself when I want to be alone. My fiance was confused and said he wanted to use a spare room for an at-home gym instead. The other spare room will be an office for when my fiance needs to work from home. I argued that he already has a claim over one of the spare rooms and that I should be allowed to use the other room for myself. He argued that the point of moving together was to share everything with each other and not just coexist in the same space. He said that he would change his mind on wanting a gym if we agreed to turn the second room into a guest bedroom and both of us can use when we want to be in our own space. I feel like I would still be sharing. If I have a room to myself to use and he wants to be alone at times, I can just go into my own room and give him the space he wants. We would be splitting expenses 50-50, so I don't think I'm being that unreasonable. So I offered to sell my RAV4 that has 100,000 miles on it in January to my brother and his wife. They shared they'd be car hunting this year, so I offered to sell it to them for what Carvana offered, which was $14,500. They agreed to it right away. The problem was that my wife and I still hadn't picked out our replacement car. So they check in every week or so, but we weren't ready. In the end, we decided to hold on to the car until our trip to Disney this past week. I checked Carvana again and they offered me more, this time $16,500. I texted my brother telling him he could have it, but he would need to match Carvana's new offer. He responded saying that they're not haggling and they've been putting off buying a car for months because they thought that we had an agreement and were just waiting on us. They called me an asshole for stringing them along for 3 months and then asking for $2,000 more. I'm just trying to do what is right by my 2 kids and one on the way. Am I in the wrong?
Am I the asshole for asking my wife to respect my title as pilot? I need the opinions of av geeks and pilots on a matter involving my wife.
Pilot behind.
I am completely serious and need help. All caps. My wife and I, together for 5 years, married for 2, no kids, have an amazing, happy relationship. I can't recall a single time we've ever argued to the point of a breakup or divorce. The issue, however, is causing me to reconsider the health of our relationship. Since my wife and I have been together, I've worked as a manager for a restaurant chain. I am an extremely passionate aviation enthusiast in my free time.
Hell yeah.
I've spent thousands of dollars on flight textbooks, sim gear, and even built my own A330 setup. I have never actually flown a plane or started flight training, but I have considered it for a long time. Even though my skills are not a career, I still consider myself as adept or possibly more knowledgeable than the average pilot. That being said, here's where the problem arises. My wife and I were invited to one of her male coworkers' house for a barbecue. My wife is a senior software tech for a COVID startup. She's worked there since 2020, a lucky catch after she was laid off from her previous job due to the virus. It was my first time meeting many of her now close coworkers due to COVID and working from home. I'd assumed she'd talked about me before, but as we were cycling through introductions, I became less sure. We make our way down the line to the host of the party, a new male hire that she has grown platonically close with. We exchanged casual conversation and Greg, the host, asked what I do for a living. My wife chimes in with, quote, he manages a insert fast food chain. It certainly comes with some benefits. I'm assuming she's referring to free food. In a voice that implied nothing was wrong with what she said. I quickly corrected her and told him that I am a pilot. My wife already knows how insecure I am about my job and how I'd much rather be introduced by my hobby. I've earned the title of pilot through my 500 plus hours on the sim and thousands of dollars put into my craft. aircraft. I think it is incredibly disrespectful for her to not acknowledge my skills and training. Just because I don't have the title of pilot on an overpriced piece of paper doesn't mean I'm not a pilot. I laughed it off with Greg, told him under my breath that my wife was often forgetful, which I'm sure he's realized just from working with her. He seemed to brush it off casually. At this point, I'm fuming, but I don't go much farther than exchanging some nasty glances at my wife for the rest of the night. As we pack into the car to leave, the argument starts. She feels as if I don't deserve my title as pilot because I'm not a professional. I told her she is completely insensitive to the work I've done, and she will never understand what it's like to study so much. She's currently on the couch as I type this. Am I really the asshole for asking to be respected?
Am I the bad guy? My wife bought a new car without consulting me. So my wife inherited $100,000, and before the check even cleared the bank, she picked out a $38,000 car to buy, and then purchased it today, the second the check cleared. It's obviously her money, and in the end she can do what she wants, but she made it clear that it is her money. I'm considering divorce because she left me totally in the dark about it and didn't even consider to ask what I thought or even let me look around with her. It also was incredibly stupid and short-sighted to have blown a third of her inheritance on a new car when we have two perfectly fine cars. The money could have been used for our family. But am I the bad guy?